Hello guys, time has come to replace this dust cover for the clutch cylinder. I've discovered a tiny little crack after a few months when I bought the bike, but at first glance I used a black flexible rubber adhesive material and it took long, but I've discovered recently that it re-cracked again, so that's all. I'm going to replace it with a new one. So I bought the original Brembo one, but you might notice that there is no Ducati here, but KTM. Why? Because it's almost half a price comparing to the other one I would buy from a Ducati shop, or I would buy as an original Ducati part. So it's not because I wouldn't afford it to pay for it, but it's a principle. However, that's a premium bike, and premium bike contains premium parts, I agree, but this is the same tiny little crappy piece of rubber that I would buy for another bike that contains the same Brembo cylinder. So I bought it from a KTM shop, and if you're interested in, you can use this part number for it. The lever itself is held by one only piece of board here, but there are a lot of other stuff around that makes the access practically impossible in this phase, so I'm going to dismantle it. But I'm not going to remove it entirely. I'm going to partially dismantle it to get access to the boat. So let's disconnect the fluid reservoir first. That's all. Then going to disconnect protector. Let's see, it might work to remove the bolt without further dismantling. And that's it. I'm gonna pry it out with a screwdriver because the base ring is hard enough, and it's out. We can see that there are more cracks. Well, I don't know if it's a design issue or it's caused by the assembly during the manufacturing. As I mentioned, this part was quite fresh. I discovered it when the bike was a few months old. Anyway, I'm going to replace it. I'm going to clean it out a little. Seeing to it that there should be no particles left or any other piece of fiber left inside. And then let's install the new one. Quite simple, you just need to push it in. Before the reassembly, I clean and lubricate attaching surfaces. Quite a simple process, but it's part of normal maintenance as well, and in long term it's beneficial. Same cleaning for the lever. For the lubrication I use the usual B grease. I've applied the grease to all of the sliding surfaces and to the pushing rod as well. Now let's install it. Let's start with the pushing rod. Well, it's advised to apply the dust cover on the pushing rod first, because later on it would be more difficult to pull the rod through the hole. As you can see, Okay. Now it's in position. And now let's install the dust cover. Okay. The repair manual doesn't contain a tightening torque, or at least I haven't found it, but it's an M6 thread and the usual torque for it is 10 Newton meters, so I'm going to use 10 Newton meters. But first, let's test it. It's in position and it works. Contains a self-locking nut at the other end. So it doesn't need a thread lock. There's the micro switch of the clutch, so you need to be careful with the wrench. There's no space for socket wrench. I use this common one. That's it. Let's reinstall the handguard screws. This one needs a thread lock. I use the wicker type of Loctite 222 because I don't need such a grip the blue has. Thread is M6, so the torque is the usual 10 Newton meters. That's it. There are two boards that attach the handguard to the fastener, and these are M5. There are contradictional information in the service manual, unfortunately, because the torque chart table contains 10 Newton meters, and obviously too much for an M5, while the chapter contains 5 Newton meters. So I'm gonna use 5 Newton meters. Okay. The last part is the clutch fluid reservoir. So rubber damped bolt, and it needs to be tightened to a torque of 2 Newton meters. 8 millimeters and 2 Newton meters. That's it. Job is done. Finally check. Lever is okay. Micro switch is okay. Everything is intact. And everything's assembled perfectly. Lessons learned for me that the good order is to install the dust cover to the pushing rod first and then install it into the cylinder. Otherwise it will be pretty much difficult, and it's also a tricky one, this bolt, to find the proper hole position to go through, but that's minor.